Work-life balance isn't a destination. It's a calendar invite that keeps getting rescheduled. That is how my guest puts it. She is in IT. She's a mom of two, a chauffeur, a snack distributor, and a professional finder of things that were, quote, literally right there. Today, she's telling us how to build a career that actually means something without losing yourself to it. Welcome back to the Maven Matriarch podcast. I'm your host, Bianca Burke, and this is the space where we help and guide and, inspire women to lead in their home, in their business, and most importantly, within themselves, especially mothers. Today's guest is Nicole LeBeau Fomin. She spent years building a career in IT while raising her two kids, and she's here to talk about what nobody tells you about doing both at the same time. And that's really important to a lot of women nowadays. Nicole, welcome.
Thank you,
Um,
Bianca.
yes, of course. So happy to have you here. So I want to start simple with you. I know we had a brief discussion a week ago or so that you shared with me that you have a really interesting story to share. And I told you to save that story until we were here today. So the floor is yours. Tell us who you are, what you're doing, what you're up to, and what your day-to-day life looks like for you now. Share
Yeah,
your journey with us.
for sure. I am a mother of two, like you said, working in the IT field. Didn't start that way. I kind of got a late start in life on things. I saw my mother, who is a wonderful inspiration to me. She is an immigrant nurse that still, at almost 40 years by the bedside, has taught me to be kind and sweet and resilient. But there's a lot of things that you also don't learn from a single parent and a lot of resources that you don't get. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So getting a late start in life, starting in the service industry, going to college a little bit later than my peers, it was always important to me to do things a little differently than my mother. She taught me how to be a good person, but she didn't teach me how to be a successful one. So that was figuring it out by myself. And what I learned and what I think served me the best was focus on yourself, be true to yourself, invest in yourself.
Absolutely.
And those were things I had to learn on my own slowly. I wanted to make sure that if I had kids, that I did it on my terms, that I was always in a safe and secure situation. So I always felt like it was important to work, to create my own wealth and to create my own path forward. So that I really believed that whoever I was in a partnership with was there because we were truly in it together, not because I needed them.
Right.
So, waiting a very long time to have children was the first thing. But then when we did try to have children, I found that I couldn't. And that was really shocking and difficult to learn. So I cried a lot. I thought a lot. I tried to then, bootstrap it and figure out, all right, what can I do? What are my options truly? And I reached out to professionals, doctors, scientists, reproductive endocrinologists, and I found out what my options were. And at that point, I figured out what was wrong. We both had to get testing to figure out who was the actual problem here. It was me. And then what, if anything, that we could do.
Right.
So I was able to get a few surgeries and then go through IVF. And through that, I was able to have two very healthy children that are biologically my own, which is not the most important thing, but it was a path that we wanted to try first.
Right.
And that's how I ended up a mother and, a career woman. So that's kind of the fastest synopsis on where we are today.
I love that. And the first thing that comes to mind is intention. We are now doing things more intentionally. And I love that you said, because it's something that I learned as well later on in my life, focus on yourself first, primarily, because, people say that's selfish, but it is not, because it really does trickle down, right? When you are whole and you are, who you are and happy, that translates to your partner. It translates to your children, to your extended family. And I that's something that I wish I'd learned sooner in my life. And I am teaching my daughter that now. And so I love that we are very much on the same wavelength. And like you, I started a lot of things later in my life as well. It took me a while to get in gear. But I'm not mad at it, and I don't regret it. It is perfect, right?
It's intentional. I love it.
Yeah. So I love that you shared that with us, and it's a blessing that you were able to do IVF. It's not an easy process, not physically, not financially. I know that, and so it's a blessing. So
For sure.
that's great. So building your career, right? Was there a moment where you felt like you were building it anytime on autopilot, or you felt like you lost pieces of yourself at any point during motherhood or building career?
There's certainly times where you have to make decisions, in the moment, what's more important. And there are things that you put on autopilot. But I think trying to figure out how to do both is really important because, of what I mentioned before, it gives you the confidence and the independence that I think a woman specifically needs,
Absolutely.
to be a great person for herself, and you're right, that trickles down to the rest of, how you can impact and influence people. So going through the process, for me, I just kind of looked at life like, there are obviously very successful people in the world.
Mhm.
What did they do? How did they get there? I was very fortunate to have a few aunts that are very successful, and I looked at
Okay.
them. And then some other mentors in my life were other women that were further in their life and their career than me, and looking up to them as well. Finding a good mentor in your family life and in your professional life are probably some of the best things that you could do for yourself, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Someone else has figured it out before you, and it'll help you take a lot of shortcuts if you look at women that are already near or at where you want to be and listen to their story, listen to how they got there. um, a lot of it is saying to yourself, if they can do it, I can too. Let me
Absolutely.
listen and learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I I think that's one of the reasons why I have this platform and bringing women like you on here. And even the community I've built, it actually launches live today. I know the recording is going to come out after, but that is what these spaces are for, is to bring women together. We may not be on the same timelines, but there's someone that can help you. You can help others, and that's what the village, which is what I'm building, is about,
Mhm.
right? And so, yeah, that's super important, and that will help you to see, like, when you do start to feel like you're losing yourself, right, in the day to day, in the in the struggles. You look at the person and you say, you know what, I can get through it. They got there. It's not like there's not going to be any struggles, right?
Mhm.
But you look towards the vision,
Yeah.
and you move towards that. Um, so I want this to be like a little teaching moment. So what is one boundary for you, or even if it's a system,
Mhm.
um, that changes everything for you when you're at work? So you're a mom, you work in IT for a corporate company,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is that boundary or system that that changed everything for you?
Just for the work life balance is really being able to leave things at the door, you know,
Mm,
trying not to linger and, really telling customers, clients, managers, whoever, like, hey, it's 5 o'clock. I've got to sign off. I promise I will get back to this. And then delivering, on what you promise that you're going to do. It builds that trust. And
yeah.
it's something that translates into regular life as well. I do it with my kids. I say, listen,
Yeah.
we're going to have to table this for now, but I promise you that we will get back to this, and, give them a time so that they know what to expect. Same with work, give
Yeah.
people all of the information that you think that they need, and then deliver just what you say that you're going to do. Building that trust and, like, keeping your boundaries helps you with every aspect of your life. And I think what I've noticed is, like, work and parenting and relationships are all
Overlap.
kind of the same. Yeah. It's like you can
Absolutely.
really
Yeah.
apply a lot of the same philosophies to all of those things.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I love that you said that. Man, you're on a roll, because that is one of the things that I say is that, my little tagline, is motherhood made you dangerous. Motherhood made me dangerous because guess what? Motherhood teaches you a lot of the things that translates into leadership, that translates into building a business or being a leader in your field or a pioneer in your field. It all translates, and motherhood really teaches you how the patience, setting boundaries, building that trust, and all of the things that you said.
Yeah.
So I love that all of that just ties in together, which is great. And then let's talk a little bit about identity and how you separate it from your job v- with your job and your role as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that, especially when you in IT, where the role can be really all consuming? I know a lot of people are consumed by their jobs, but in your role specifically.
How do I separate those
Yeah.
things?
How do you separate your identity
Mm-hmm.
from that job title, right? But from you don't get consumed into work,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do you separate it? What do you do to keep you grounded in who you are?
I think that, having humility and kind of being able to laugh at yourself and not take anything too seriously really is
Oh,
the secret to life.
yeah.
It's like realizing that everybody is just doing the best they can in the moment. Give everything you can while you're at your job, leave it at the door, and then when it's time to be a mother, a partner, a friend, be all there for that too. Really try to be there in the moment. Put your
Present. Be
phone
present.
down, put your worries down, and be there because people recognize when you're actually checked in to what you're doing.
Uh-huh.
And I think that I guess I would say authenticity, just
Uh-huh.
being authentically interested in the people that you're talking to, your children, your partner, your friend, and at work. I think that helps you to be there in the moment, to give your best at each task that is in front of you.
Yeah, and it's I don't want to say it's hard, but sometimes you really like, even hearing this now today, it just put another pushing me to be better at that.
Mhm.
When you get consumed with the things that you have to do, and I have to-do lists like
Oh, yeah.
so long,
Miles long.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and you really do forget that presence especially for your family, for yourself,
Mhm.
is so important. And thank you for that reminder, because today is a family day for us, and
Yeah.
after this, I'm gonna try to really put the phone down, close the laptop, and really spend time with my family. So I appreciate that today.
I mean, another thing that goes along with it too is forgiveness, forgiving
Mhm.
yourself for
Mhm.
forgetting sometimes,
Yeah.
trying not to be, it's kind of like the laugh at yourself thing that I was saying before. It's like, sometimes you'll find yourself in a moment at work or with your kids or with your spouse where you're just like so wound up and taking everything way
Mhm.
too seriously because you're feeling a lot of stress. But then if you
Yeah.
take a step back and really think like, what is this going to matter in a
Right.
year? Is
Right.
arguing over what shoes the kid is wearing or what we're eating or what we're doing, like, is that really what's going to matter in a year? And like, just taking a moment to kind of laugh at how absurd some of the things are that we get worked up about.
Worked up over. Yeah.
So that's kind of the other side of that is, be authentically yourself, but like also realize that some things that we make important are kind of absurd.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm guilty
We all
of
are.
that.
Yeah. And you
And
laugh
you know
at
what?
yourself, give yourself a break.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, you know what? And I forgive myself.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
It will make
absolutely.
you a much better person to be
Yeah,
around, and it'll just help you feel better in general.
yeah,
Totally
yeah.
agree.
I've definitely come a long way. I see myself, a few years ago, and that was me. That was me, worked up over any little thing would get
Mhm.
me upset if things didn't go right. I'm a planner, and it's part of the type A personality.
Oh, yeah.
But you really have to, like, you know, since being a mom, really, and doing a lot of internal work, I've learned to really let things go.
Yeah.
Let it be. Like, and that has changed my life,
Mhm.
I focus that energy more in the present moment when I'm doing something. But then after that, I have no control and just let it be.
Yeah.
So that's helped. So let's talk a little bit about what's something about balancing career and motherhood that nobody warns you about. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. It's
Let's
a
get
lot.
deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think, oh, there's two sides of me, that are very torn. I really wanted to have children, and now they are here. And I wish I could spend every waking moment with them. There's something really beautiful about that old, you know, mothers stay home and take care of their children and do all of those things. But that's just not the reality of the world that we live in. What if my
Yeah.
partner were to pass away? What if, something else happened and
Yes.
I never had a career and I found myself at 45 or 50 having spent, 20 or so years not having a career. And then all of a sudden I have to go back out into the workforce for reasons that I could have never foreseen.
Mhm.
Um, that's the kind of things that keep me a little bit more balanced, saying, as much as I would love to be the stay-at-home mom that does everything for my kids, let me just figure out how I can do everything that I can, but also still work and be an individual, and
Yeah.
have a backup plan so that if the unforeseeable happens, that I'm prepared either way. And if
Yeah.
it doesn't, then, I've had a very interesting life and I've done the best that I can along the way, because I'm trying to keep it balanced where, take the kid out of school, a couple days and go on a surprise trip, or, let
Right.
them just chill out at home and play video games. Again, don't take life too seriously.
Right.
All of these requirements and obligations and things like that, it's not everything. Your
Right.
family truly is everything. Your
Yeah.
experiences are everything.
Mhm. Yeah, and you're teaching your kids that, right? Because we grew up seeing our parents and our grandparents, in that space. Wives stayed home, mom stayed home, took care of the kids, and dad went to work. And that same thing triggers me because I'm like, okay, there's two facets to that, right? It's okay, what if something does happen to my partner, or God forbid, nothing crazy, but maybe he loses his job. Maybe,
Right.
because things change. We
Yeah.
still have a family to take care of. We should be able to balance that and pull. Should be able to pull some of that weight. The other side of it is the individuality that you're losing in yourself. Like, yes, mom stayed home, but it's like I feel like back in the day it was just like, okay, this is all I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's valuable work, but you lose yourself.
Yes.
So we're now in 2026 where, yes, times have changed, especially for people's finances, but also we are now saying women have a place, and not only in the home, right?
Mhm.
We want to be ourselves and express ourselves and do our passion. So it's those two sides of the coin that really, we're moving in that direction. This is a movement, right? We're going into this world where, women can maybe have it all.
Yeah. I mean,
So
listen, if I won't get too far into the
yeah.
politics of it, but I mean,
Mhm.
if we really want to move into a world where women can have everything, it's going to require a lot of policy change. And I mean, just one thing straight off the bat that I don't think is a terribly controversial thing is
Mhm.
healthcare. If healthcare
Absolutely.
weren't
Yeah.
tied to employment, then
Mhm.
women could have a much easier time, at least in the first 2 years of parenting, when things are the most challenging and the most expensive. You have your hospital stay and you have all the sick visits and just the regular visits and all those things. If
And
it just
employment. What
Yeah.
about and during that first 2 years, women are going back after 6 weeks of of,
6 I
of
know.
giving birth. It's so sad.
It kills
And
me.
yeah, I completely agree. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of change in policy that could truly help us to move further, you know,
Yeah.
forward for sure. For sure. But we won't get too deep in
No, I
politics because
agree.
this is gonna be
That's a whole other series that would have to be created to talk about all of that.
So I mentioned having it all, and there's a question I have for you. So, is there a piece of advice about having it all that you now think, or that you think is actually harmful? Is there? Because I said that, but do you think there's a harmful piece of that?
I guess it depends on what people interpret as having it all for themselves. I mean, for me, having it all is having the career, having the supportive spouse, having the children. And I think that, sure, there could be a dark side to that, like if
Yeah.
you try too hard and you're really sacrificing in one place or another. But I think the goal of having it all can be good if you keep that authenticity and
Yeah.
kindness and boundaries and all of the other things that help kind of keep the guardrails on.
Yeah.
I think you can. I think you can have it all. But with anything, there's a dark side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that. It's having it all it's not cookie cutter. It's what having it all means to you. Everyone is different.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, you have to respect that, and you can't judge anyone for how they want to have it all.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, the individual. So if a mom right now is in mid burnout, I would say, right? She's struggling, she's balancing working career or even building, right? And she's struggling with balancing motherhood and her role in that. What's the first small move that you tell her to make? She's in mid burnout.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. And it happens to all of us. And this
Yeah.
is where, like creating a tool belt of skills is really, really important. This is a time to scale back and reassess what you've assigned yourself to do, Is there
Yeah.
any projects at work that you took on voluntarily that you could probably put on hold for a little bit? Are there any
Yeah.
projects at home that you've taken on that you can put on hold for a little bit? Are there obligations with your friends that you just need to put on hold a little bit? People overextend themselves all the
Mhm.
time, and it's not just like one thing that leads to that burnout. It's all of the things compounding slowly over time, and a
Yeah.
woman or a person, not taking the time to reassess what they have signed themselves up for. And it's understanding, your needs, your boundaries, what makes you happy. So scaling back, and being honest, and then going back out to people. And like I said before, part of it is talking with your
Mhm.
partner, your kids, your work, your friends, and saying, hey, I took on too much,
Yeah.
and trying not to just hide from your responsibilities, because I think that ends up making you feel worse. I think that makes the
Yes.
burnout worse.
Yeah.
When you're like just, "Oh, I just have to give up and not talk to anybody for a while." It's like,
Yeah.
just be honest. And people will appreciate that. They'll respect that. And sometimes they might have help for you. Sometimes you don't need it. But,
Mhm.
sometimes it's just like, just hearing that they understand that they've been there too. And when you're ready, you can come back,
Yeah.
that's everything. It's honesty, and it's, again, things that you learn in business, delivering on what you promise, And
Mhm.
if you can't deliver, that's okay too. Maybe you can someday, but be honest about what you can and can't do. People appreciate that a lot too.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised, we're not dealing with monsters. We're dealing with human beings like us. And you'd be surprised how, forgiving and how, supportive people, your peers can be, your bosses, so I agree with that. Definitely communicate, and scale back if you need to. I
Yeah.
think a big word in there that I, use with my clients is we do an activity where we prioritize. Let's really figure out
Yes.
what the big things are and what the things that you can kind of say, you know what, we'll get to that.
Yep.
I think you're basically saying the same thing. So that's great advice. To anyone who's listening or watching, like, yeah, that's scale back if you need to. It's okay.
Yeah. And
Uh,
you'll find your other mom friends or
yeah,
your spouse or whatever, they probably just didn't know, like, and
yeah,
you'll find a lot of people are very sympathetic to
yes,
what you're going through. And you might even hear stories of when they went through the same thing. And you're like, huh. And sometimes as a young mom, like, you don't realize, but like, women have been treading this path for millennia, like,
yes, forever.
things that we
Yeah,
are going through are not new.
right.
And there's a support system out there if you're just honest with yourself and honest with the people around you that you
Yeah,
can tap into.
and that's and I come back again, that's the community that I'm building
Mhm.
is, women in the same season or similar seasons who are probably going through very much similar things,
Mhm.
and sometimes we keep the things to ourselves and we don't realize that the person next to us is going through the same thing, and we can talk and we can communicate and we can bounce, someone can help me, I can help her. Like, we just, for a time where we're so connected, especially online, it really, we're still disconnected.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm wanting this community to thrive, and I'm hoping that we can build something that helps other people, helps other moms.
Yeah. The village has moved. It's just moved to the internet.
It's moved to the internet.
Yeah.
I love that. I got to use that. I love it.
It still exists though, and that's the beauty of it.
Yes. So last question for you, and this is to our audience, right? What's one thing that a mom listening today should stop apologizing for?
I pretty much stopped apologizing for everything.
Ooh, okay, that's a good answer.
It always makes me so sad when I notice that my friends are hyper apologetic. But there are things that, your time, your boundaries, your obligations, things like that, stop apologizing for that kind of stuff, have things that you have to do. These are your life, your boundaries, your responsibilities. You're not obligated to go outside of your comfort zone for anyone, your friends, your partner, your work, anything. So don't apologize for it. Just be confident and firm and say, hey, that's just not something that I can do. You might want to offer a solution depending on the person that you're talking to. Maybe it's important that you do offer some alternative path forward, but sometimes you don't even have to do that, just decide if this is the right audience that needs a different path forward. Sometimes though, the answer is just no, and you don't have to be apologetic for it.
That's it. No is a sentence, and that's it, right?
Exactly. I like that. No is a sentence.
Yeah, exactly. So Nicole, this session is exactly what I wanted, okay, for the space. I wanted the honesty, and I got it. So before I let you go, I want you to tell our audience where they can find you. Maybe what you're working on, if you're working on anything other than, I know you work in IT, but where can they find you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, I would love to mentor women. I do mentor women here locally. I'm in Central Texas. I mentor women professionally. So if you're looking for that kind of connection, please find me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to help with a referral or business references, or even just, how-to information. How do you get from being in the service industry to being in the IT industry? It's not as crazy of a leap as you might think. And if you're looking for mothering advice, you could find me on Instagram. Certainly happy to connect with people there as well. And what am I doing with myself? I'm always learning. I invest in myself, and I feel like that's a lifelong journey. My birthday is coming up at the end of this week. And and I get really, introspective around birthdays and thinking, what can I do to better myself? And I thought, I think that there's a lack of critical thinking going on just in general, and I thought, how can I learn some skills to teach my children to be better critical thinkers, and myself as well, because everything that you teach your children starts with modeling. And so you need to be able to model good behavior before they can learn it. So if people don't know, you can go to Harvard EDU for free, and you can audit classes. So I decided to start auditing some classes from Harvard. It's completely free. You can certainly pay if you want, but go there for free. And
why not?
A philosophy class because it helps a lot with, critical thinking and things like that. So do things like that. What's interesting to you? Find something fun and make yourself better.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. And I love that. I think you're an amazing mentor. You would be an amazing mentor to women. And I'd love to have you on a how-to class. We'll talk a little bit more about that because I think they can benefit from your knowledge and your expertise and just your energy. Because it's amazing.
Well,
so I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. It was such a pleasure having you here. Everything, was perfect today. If what Nicole said today and what we spoke about today hit home for you, this is what I want you to do next. Okay. I built a space for moms, stay at home moms specifically, who are ambitious women, who are tired of doing things alone, and who want daily support and resources, not just another podcast episode, even though these are great, right? This space is called the Maven Circle, and it is now open. Currently, it's only $7, okay, per month. It is the price of a cup of coffee and a croissant. And for that, you get resources, expert-led training, learnings, and a village, which is most important, of women who just get it. If you're ready to stop going through the season alone, book a call with me or join with the link in the description. Until next time, thank you so much.